All right, guys. So, a little more on this. Just because you're doing a pose like downward facing dog, one of those famous ones, does not mean you're doing yoga. Ha! Did you know that? I love helping clear up this misperception that we have right now in the world. Even a lot of us yoga teachers are confused. We might think the poses are the yoga, and that if we're not doing a pose, we're not doing yoga. And if we're in a pose, that we are necessarily doing yoga. Because really what we can see that doing yoga, and even calling it doing yoga, is weird when we realize what yoga is, what it's supposed to be, what that word means. It's yoga means union. Yoga means to join. Yoga means to connect. I say it almost every time I make a video about yoga. So to do connection, sure, if you want to say, how do you do your connection? How do you do your union? How do you find that for yourself? How do you create that for yourself? And yes, interestingly, those poses that made yoga so famous are one of the places that we can practice yoga, that we can find those feelings of connection, that we can create more feelings of connection for ourselves, whether it's with our body, with our mind, with our heart, with our soul, with the moment, with our lives, right? With what's true for us. So yeah, you can do all of that within a yoga pose, but you may or may not be finding that connection in a yoga pose depending on how you're doing it, right? And I would vote, especially if you're making that pose about killing yourself or making it just a workout to get your buns and abs stronger and firmer, right? I would vote that that is not so much yoga, even if you're doing the pose that you learned from the tradition of yoga. So doing yoga, experiencing yoga, creating yoga, finding yoga, feeling yoga, being yoga, right? So yes, we can do it in a pose, but we need to know that just because we're doing a pose doesn't mean we're doing yoga. And there's so many ways to practice yoga, to find yoga, to create yoga that may or may not involve those exercises, right? Even though finding some of the right exercises for you can be magical, transformative, and help you create those feelings of connection with yourself, even spiritually, energetically, emotionally, mentally, right? But let's get even more clear on what yoga is, how we create it, how we find it, how we feel it, how we live it, and that the role that the poses play in it, which is not just doing a pose, means we're doing yoga, right? So I hope that clears that up a little bit. Another truth bomb, bringing it to you live. Love you guys. Namaste.